think you're good, Mr. Current Vice Chair.
All right, good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. This is the July 11th meeting of the Nantucket Conservation Commission. My name is Seth Engelborg. I am the Vice Chair of the Commission and the acting chair as of now because our past chair is no longer with us. He is still alive. He's just not on the commission. So we have all 7 members here in person. So we don't need to do roll call votes, but we do need to establish the roll call. So let's start with Mike Mizzarelli. Just say aye. You're here.
You're here.
Here.
Tim Brain,
Here.
Linda Williams,
Here.
Joe Plandowski, Mark Beal,
Here.
John Schaefer,
Here.
and Seth Engelborg is here. So we have a number of continuances on tonight's agenda. There may be some others that I don't have. So Jeff, if there are more, please let me know. What I am aware of is Sconset Bluff Preservation Trust, SE 48 3736 has been continued. Is that to 725?
Correct.
Continued to 725. Two Pilgrims LLC, SE 48, or that's at 15 and 17 Pilgrim Road, without a file number, is continued until 725. That's number 12. Granick 244 Nantucket Road, without a file number as of now, that's continued into 725. Somersack LLC 5 High Brush Path, also no file number, continued to 725. We have Gregory and Wilkinson 55 Nobeter Avenue, continued until 725. And we have Seahorse Lane 5 Grant Avenue, SE 48 3786, continued until July 25th.
I got 3 more too.
Okay, let's
if you
hear
want.
them.
So in addition to those, we also have number 1, Sconset Beach Preservation Fund, 59 to 83 Baxter Road, SE 48 3759 to 725. The Nantucket Islands Land Bank, 45 No Nantum Ave, SE 48 3769, continued to 725. And Nantucket Islands Land Bank, Matacasham Valley Road and Surfside, SE 48 3771, continued to 725.
Thank you.
Sorry. Those last ones came in a little late in the day, but
We appreciate it. So before we get started, I just want to welcome our new commissioner, John Schaefer, and also say thank you to our past chair, Ian Golding, for his service. The first item on the agenda under public meeting.
I have one question, if I may, regarding the continuances.
Yes.
Is there any way we can take testimony on one of the continuances that's before us? Because I know people have come from afar to testify, and I didn't know if the continuance is automatic, or can we take testimony?
We shouldn't take testimony, but any testimony could be delivered to the Natural Resources Department staff, Jeff, Will, electronically, or go there in person and talk to them. All right. So our meeting will start with public meeting. The first item we have is appointment of officers. Does anybody wish to?
Nominate Seth as the chairman.
Does anybody, or I guess, is there any further discussion on that motion? All right, let's do a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
You?
No, I'm not opposed. Any abstain or recuse? All right, that carries unanimously. Thank you all. We also now need to establish a vice chair. Do we have a nomination for the vice chair?
And nominate Linda Williams.
Is there a second? I'll second that motion. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's do a roll call vote. So, Mike Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Tim Brain. Okay, Linda Williams. Joe Plandowski. Mark Beal.
No?
John Schaefer,
Aye.
and Seth Engelborg, aye. That carries with 4 votes to 3. Thank you all. The next item on the agenda is public comment. This is for comments that are not specifically related to items on our agenda. Do we have any public comment in person or electronically? All right, hold on. Let's see if there's anyone in the audience first. Yes, please go ahead and introduce yourself for the record.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is Dennis Murphy. I'm an attorney at Hill Law in Boston. I was going to be here on a matter that I understand has been continued, and I just was going to ask the commission if there is a protocol for continuance. Is there a time period or a posting that we could have been notified that matters might be continued?
Yes, please discuss which matter that you're hoping to
We're
talk
here
on
for
about.
SBPF.
Okay, I'll defer to staff on that. I would say that in general, continuances are at the applicant's discretion, but if Jeff has anything to add, go for it.
Sure. So typically, we accept those, written requests for continuance really up to about an hour before the meeting. I know that's inconvenient sometimes. We did receive a formal written request to the office. I could pull the exact time if people are interested. But typically it's there. I know it causes inconvenience for folks that come to meetings or travel or participate via Zoom, and do apologize for that, but it is something that the bylaw allows for the applicant to request a continuance at their discretion. So apologies to those who came and were anticipating speaking, but that's typically the procedure that the commission is used.
Thank you, Jeff and Mr. Murphy. I am sorry that you made it all the way here for the continuance, but
No,
we
I-
appreciate you being here.
I didn't ask, I wasn't really just looking for an apology. I was just, for the 25th, if there's a way that we could maybe check in, and I certainly can call Attorney Nyland and find out what their intentions are. I'm happy to do that. But I just don't want to make the same mistake again, that's all.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment by people in the room here physically?
Can I quickly respond to that? Just, we do try to get that in as quickly as possible and try to make updates to the posting. If you do check in, I know this was kind of, there are also some extraordinary circumstances with this one this time, that I think people had intended to go forward, and then real life happened, unfortunately, for some folks. But again, we try to get it posted, but feel free to call the office up to the day of, and we're happy to try to let everyone know where it stands. And we definitely try to discourage folks from continuing right before meetings, because this kind of stuff happens. But we're always happy to let people know as soon as we know. And a lot of times, if they get in early enough, we'll even, people that have participated will call or email when that comes in. But I know today's was kind of late, so sorry for the inconvenience.
Are you aware that the other counsel cannot be here today?
Attorney Cohen, yes.
Okay.
And I think most of the island is wishing him well, and I think was aware of that. It had been reported to me that the meeting was going to go forward notwithstanding that, that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I see that we have Burton Balkines with his hand up on Zoom. Please introduce yourself for the record and then say your comment.
Burton Balkine, can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would just like to remind the commission and the public and to our newest commission member, let him know that the project that the NOI is for is under a removal order and has been deficient in sand for years and has been not contributing to the littoral system for most of the last 8 months. And I want to wish the new commissioner well and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Balkan, for your comment. And we're not going to respond here, but we appreciate it. Any other public comment before we move on? Okay. That will bring us into public hearing notices of intent. So I believe we're starting at Town of Nantucket, Maya Comet Pond, SE 483764.
Correct.
And that is represented by Mr. Price, I believe.
I believe with us today will be Amy Ball from the Horsley Witten Group, but as a quick reminder to everybody, this had been continued. We had been waiting for some kind of indication from Mass Natural Heritage as to what was going on. I think Amy has an update on that for you guys.
Thank you, Amy. Welcome. Please introduce yourself and then go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, good evening. Amy Ball, senior ecologist with the Horsley Witten Group, representing the town. We do not have our final letter from Natural Heritage, but we've been corresponding with Amy Hennig at Natural Heritage for the past couple of days, actually the past couple of weeks. She's not able to issue the final determination pursuant to MISA. Recall that it's a MISA and Wetlands Protection Act joint filing that we did. But she did indicate that based upon the information that we provided to them and some clarifications we've had through meetings and emails and conversations, that the project would not result in an adverse impact to the resource area habitat of the state listed species, provided that the project adheres to a time of year restriction for shorebirds of April 1st to August 31st, and that is specifically associated with the open dune staging area on the southeast side of Myconic Pond. Recall that there were a couple of different launching areas and staging areas associated with the dredging of the pond. This would be the one that is an existing parking lot, sandy parking lot for the beach access, that will be used in the off season for staging and for the exit of the pond, the pipe that leaves the pond and travels toward the wastewater treatment facility. So we thought we'd bring that back to the commission. The Natural Heritage is still awaiting some results of some plant surveys. There are 4 rare species, plant species mapped for the area, and we've conducted the Nantucket Land Bank has conducted on behalf of the town one of the surveys for blue-eye grass, which has been flowering this past spring, but the other 3 species wouldn't flower till the fall. And she indicated to me this afternoon that she's looking to have those plant surveys presented to Natural Heritage under the MISA review that they're doing. So we figured we'd bring this back to the commission because the only condition that she's suggesting is that time of year restriction, and to allow the commission to consider that.
Thank you, Amy. You're having trouble hearing, you're saying, Joe?
Yeah. I couldn't understand half of it.
Charles, or who is ever here from NCTV, can we maybe try to increase the volume or figure that out?
It wasn't volume, it was mumbling.
Okay.
Sound quality, but it wasn't.
Not you, Amy. I think it's a technological issue, not you.
Charles is listening, so we'll try to get it on the phone.
Okay.
Weird, I never realized it was that bad. We've been in here before.
All right. Hopefully NCTV can figure that out. In the meantime, do commissioners have any questions on what she was saying? Yes, Mr. Beal.
Have we still not heard from Natural Heritage?
So I'll answer that since my audio works hopefully a little bit better. We have received in writing from Natural Heritage that there is not a take under the Wetlands Protection Act, and some conditions are forthcoming, but the written requirements have been met to at least close the public hearing on this in regards to Natural Heritage. And then I would suggest that we wait for that final from them before issuing the order. So I think that we could probably close that public hearing and issue at the next meeting, but they have fulfilled the requirement from Heritage.
No. Are there any other questions from members of the commission? Are there any questions from members of the public? So Jeff, we're able to close at this hearing, or we need to wait?
Nope, you can close at this hearing, but between us drafting the order and finalizing that and finishing off some of the stuff from Heritage, I think we'll have a draft order for the next meeting.
Great. Linda, would you like to make that
I'll make a
motion?
motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Keep
Absta-
waiting for the roll call.
Abstentions?
Waiting for the roll.
All right, that carries unanimously. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, that will bring us to our next notice of intent. The Nantucket Islands Land Bank at 45 Nonantum Avenue, SC 483769, represented by Rachel Freeman.
Nope.
Oh, this
Yep.
one continued?
Yes.
Sorry.
This and the next one have been
All
continued.
right, my bad. Those next two are continued. Well, it'll be Leland Shanty Nominee Trust, 52R and 54R Tennessee Ave, SE 483776, represented by Art Gasparo. Art, good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you tonight, along with Arthur Reed, for an application related to an existing shed, old shanty shack, and pier and float. It's been in existence for quite some time, and we are pursuing a Chapter 91 license. The order of conditions is a prerequisite to be able to properly license this structure. I give you a little bit of history. The lots have been in the Topham family for almost 100 years, and their grandfather used to fish for eels in the creek there from a float, and it's been damaged and rebuilt over the years. There was some plans and permitting and repairs done in 1989, which I've included in the materials, but again, never properly gone through that final step of obtaining a Chapter 91 waterways license. So we're not proposing any changes to the footprint of what exists, though we are proposing as part of the application the ability to repair as may be needed, or even replace in kind. That's not currently proposed, but the conditions of the license, once granted, actually requires responsible maintenance of the license structure. So that's the reason for including that language. And again, there's no changes in footprint, and we've tried to include some of that historical information for you. Be happy to address any questions or concerns, should you have any, with respect to the structures of the application.
Thank you, Art. Are there any questions from members of the commission? Yes, John.
There's not any work being proposed right now, is that right? That's how I understand.
Mr. Gasparo, would you like to elaborate on that?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. There is not currently any work, but work could be permitted, or allowed under the order. So again, it could go all the way to essentially full replacement in kind, but that's not what's being proposed. It's ultimately to be able to maintain the existing structures as they exist. And so any real, I think, repair would be limited to in-kind materials and dimensions.
Thanks.
Any other commissioners? Okay, I have one question. So I'm assuming the original structure was built long before the Wetlands Protection Act was enacted. Is that true?
Yes, I believe so. I believe it's been rebuilt, though. I mean, I'm told that, again, that the family, they purchased the lots in 1928. In 1929, they had logbooks of eel fishing off a float from, I'm told, 1956. That the float's been there since the 70s. It's not clear on a 71 aerial that I tried looking at. So the quality isn't, I don't have, I've got a lot of information from the family, but not very clear pictures from that support exactly how long it's been there.
Thank you. I think as just a technical comment, in this case, we should apply the waiver that allows for pre-existing use to go forward. So I think that would be good for the order of conditions, but other than that, I don't see any problem. Linda, did you have a question or comment?
No, I just know anecdotally that it was used by an antecedent of the kids that are still here, and then the father and the mother that were still here, and they were used by way back, almost from the beginning, because they were scallopers and fishermen. So that, I knew about this thing a long time ago. I think I agree with you on the waiver provision, though. I think that's a good thing to do.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Yes, Mark?
Thank you, Seth. If there's no current work proposed and we're issuing an order of conditions to be able to maintain the structure, wouldn't they need a permit if they go out and start to maintain it? Wouldn't they need a new notice of intent if they're going to be working on that project?
So here's the thing about use in normal maintenance. Permitted projects are allowed to be maintained without a new notice of intent because that's part of the regulations. But we've never clearly defined what normal maintenance exactly means. Even in this last regulatory update, we didn't do that. My assessment is that if they're going to go start replacing, piles or whole big sections, they should be coming to us for a new notice of intent. But I know staff and Jeff and Will have always worked with applicants to decide what is normal maintenance and what is beyond that.
If I may, through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
And we included photos in the application so you could see. I mean, overall the structure is aging, but it's not rotting out. It's in fairly good shape. So we're not coming in proposing wholesale replacement of the structure. This is really an exercise to be able to obtain the proper waterways licensing and maintain than it is to replace.
Thank you, Art. Jeff, do you have something to add?
Yeah, if it's helpful, I was just going to say, we typically, when folks come in and talk about maintenance or replacement, kind of put about a 20 to 25% threshold on total replacement before it needs to be permitted as a replacement. So in this, obviously, if they're going to go out and replace a section of just decking boards, do 10 linear feet of it, that would be the maintenance. If they were going to say, we're going to take out 50 feet, replace all the pilings, replace all the stringers, replace all the deck boards, then we're moving more into replacement. And we would probably, if this permit was open, would at least have them come back to amend the permit, if not file a new permit.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Mark?
Is there any reference to Chapter 91 licensing with an application like this that's pre-wetlands regulations?
I can take that, but I mean, I think as a matter of course, in properties all across the state, there are projects like this that were never licensed and predate both the Wetlands Protection Act and Chapter 91, and that as property owners are trying to get permits in place, they go through and basically want everything to be up to code. That's what I see this permit as. But Mr. Gasparo, if you have anything else to add, feel free.
No, that's exactly correct, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions or comments from members of the commission? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Jeff, do we have everything we need to close this application?
Yes, sir.
All right, would you like to close this application?
Yes, please.
Do we have a motion to close this application?
Motion to close the application.
Motion made by Linda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mike. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? That carries unanimously. Thank you, Art.
Thank you.
We just marked that down. So our next notice of intent is 47 Wall Street LLC at 47 Wall Street, SE 48 3778, represented by Mark Ritz. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, Mark Ritz from Site Design representing the applicant. The project before you this evening or this late afternoon is an after-the-fact filing. The property owner has recently had some health issues and now requires the use of a motorized wheelchair to get around. So they did some work at his house to try to accommodate his new mobility needs. The work that has been done was an extension of the pervious shell driveway. There's a section of driveway going up to the garage before that dashed line. That was the existing shell driveway. We added the rest of the horseshoe and the second exit with the Belgian block apron. That's also shell. And it's basically to accommodate a wheelchair van getting into the property. We have also constructed a brick walkway from the side of the driveway going up along the side of the house. The only resource area or in question is flood zone. So the only changes made in the flood zone were a dry laid brick walkway to provide kind of a stable surface with traction for the motorized chair, and the extension of the shell driveway to allow for easy entrance and exit with the mobility van. There was a wooden timber retaining wall that was reconstructed exactly as it was before, no changes, and no changes to other structures within jurisdictional areas. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And Jeff, can we get these plans on the
Sure.
screen for the public? Thank you, Mark. Do any members of the commission have questions related to this application? Do any members of the public have questions or comments on this application? Do we have everything that we need to close?
Yes, sir.
Mark, would you like to close?
Please.
Do we have a motion to close?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion made by Linda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Tim. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? That carries unanimously. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
So that will bring us to our next application, which is Pilgrim's Corner Realty Trust, 16 Paul Jones Road, SE 48 3779, also represented by Mark Ritz. Go ahead.
Once again, Mark Ritz from Site Design representing the applicant. The project before you is a buffer zone project requesting approval to construct a pool, retaining wall, and stone patio and fire pit. The 50-foot buffer to an off-site wetland comes up to almost the corner of the property. I think that the property is at about 52 feet from the buffer zone. All structures will be outside the 50-foot buffer. The pool will be at approximately 75 or 80 feet from the wetland, as will the retaining wall. The deck elevation of the pool is approximately 25 feet. The 50-foot buffer is at about 14 feet, and the wetland is down at probably 8 to 10. So we will be well above the 2-foot groundwater separation. There's quite a slope on the back of this property. All structures outside the 50. No significant grading beyond the construction of the wall for the pool and the retaining wall for the upper part of the property. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mark. Are there any questions from members of the commission? Seeing none, are there any questions or comments from members of the public? Just check the Zoom to make sure. Jeff, do we have everything we need to close this application?
Yes, sir.
Mark, would you like to close the application?
Please.
Do we have a motion to close the application?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you, Linda, for making the motion, and Mike for the second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, that carries unanimously. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
That will move us on to our next application, which is O'Callahan at 8 Second Way, SE 48 3780, represented by David Haynes. David, good evening.
Good evening. How are you all tonight? Or this afternoon? This is a notice of intent for a second dwelling at 8 Second Way, over off of next to First Way and Allen Road, Allen Street. What it is it's a second dwelling being constructed outside of 50 feet in a lawn area. And it is the elevation of it will have a full basement, but the elevation of the wetland is down at 18 with on a temporary benchmark, not on the town datum. And the basement floor will be down at 20 feet. So it'll be 2 feet above the flood zone. It'll be outside of the 50, minimal grading around the building. All areas will be stabilized with loam and seed. There'll be a silt fence put up prior to the start of work, and that'll be maintained until all work is complete and the site is stabilized. No waivers are required, and it meets the performance standards. And that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, thank you, David. Do any members of the commission have questions or comments? Do any members of the public have questions or comments? It looks like we do have somebody on Zoom, David Guevara. They're in the attendees list. Can we bring them over?
They should be able to talk.
David, please identify yourself and any connection you may have with the project, and then go ahead.
Good afternoon or evening, everyone, Mr. Chairman. My only question for the proposed intention is, what is the plan with the tree? I'm sorry, I'm the owner of a 6 Second Way. That's why I'm present here remotely. My question is about the tree. I have a very emotionally important tree next to the building that is being proposed to be built. It's going to be 10 feet away from my property line, and my tree is right there in that corner. So I just need to know. I know it has nothing to do with the wetland, but I don't know who else to ask besides you here. What is the plan with that tree, with my tree?
Mr. Guevara, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is this tree on your property, or is it on the 8 Second Way property, the abutting property that's before us?
It's on my side. It's on my side, but it's so yeah, the stump, it's in my side, but it's actually, if you look at the property, part of the tree, it's on their side, and I see that the building's going to be 10 feet away from the property line. So I'm gonna assume that tree is gonna be pretty much touching the new building. So that's why and this tree is a very important tree for me, for my family. I planted it when my firstborn son was born. So and it's his favorite tree. So that's my main reason for which I'm here. That's why I like to know. That's why I needed to ask this question.
Okay, thank you, David Guevara. David Haynes, do you have any response to that, please?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it. I didn't look up the hill. If the tree is 10 feet away and we're 10 feet away from the proposed work, then can I ask him what kind of a tree and how big it is?
Yes, if you would, David Guevara, like to answer that. If you have any information on the tree, please let us know. I also know Mr. Haynes to be a reasonable person, and I think if you coordinated with him outside the meeting, he could assuage some of your concerns, but please tell us any information that you might have.
I am not sure about the name of the tree. It's a type of maple, and it's about, I would say, 30 feet high, maybe 30 feet, 25 feet wide. And yes, it is on my side, and it's it's like 5 feet on my side, and that's why the branches are they're expanded to the point that they are on Mr. O'Callahan's side.
Thank you. And can you just confirm your address for us one more time?
6 Second Way.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Haynes, go ahead.
So it's the property right in back of the building. I would say if it's there may be some pruning that needs to be done on one side, but if the rule of thumb is if you disturb more than a third of the root system inside of the drip line, then you could have impacts to the tree. I can bring it up with my client about that, and we can try to work to try to preserve and protect that tree as much as possible. If we protect the roots and only have to do minimal trimming to allow that building to be built, I think we can probably work something out. I will bring that up with them, but again, it's not really a wetlands issue, but want to be a good neighbor.
Thank you, Mr. Haynes. Do any other, yes, Jeff, go ahead.
I can add in too. We can certainly send one of our staff members. We have, Will is a certified arborist. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to go and participate in whatever site meeting is necessary to ensure that that tree will not be damaged.
Thank you. And Mr. Guevara, hopefully that assuages your concerns. Do any other members of the public have questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Just
go
for,
ahead, Mike.
Thank you. Just for Mr. Guevara's, a resource for Mr. Guevara might be to go to mass.gov. There's tree law that can benefit neighbors, and there's some resources there, Mr. Guevara, you might find on mass.gov if you look up trees.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, and thank you. Mike, Jeff, do we have everything we need to close this application?
Yes, you do.
Mr. Haynes, would you like to close this application?
Yes, please.
Do we have a motion to close?
Motion to close, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Linda made the motion and seconded by Tim. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
So that brings us to New England Development. Before we proceed, are we able to take these all together, or do we need to take these three NOIs separately?
I would ask Paul.
Paul, any thoughts on taking these separately or together?
I'm happy to do them together. I mean, I
Okay.
think there is plenty of overlap. I think we could,
Yes.
maybe it'd be safer to just actually open each one separately, I think.
Okay.
I mean, it's not gonna, well, they'll roll. I think we'll kind of pare it down as I get to each presentation, but I think for the purposes of keeping the record straight, we should open each one separately.
All right, having read them, I think they're all pretty similar and there's going to be a lot of rollover, but let's start by taking New England Development at 19 North Water Street, Lot 8, SE 483781, represented by Paul Santos.
Thank you. For the record, Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors on behalf of the property owner and applicant, White Elephant Hotel Residences LLC, which is a branch or care of New England Development. This is a development of a single-family lot in what is known as the White Elephant Village. We have been before you previously and bookended the three lots that are presenting tonight. We previously approved Lot 7, or you approved Lot 7 and Lot 11A, which for those of you who have been down South Beach Street and at the intersection of White Elephant Way are currently under construction. The applicants, the reason we're here tonight is the work is completely within land subject to coastal storm flowage. There are no other resource areas that affect these parcels. The specific flood zone we are in is a AE zone, elevation 8. The site, Lot 8, which we're presenting right now, is presently at around elevation 7. The site is not mapped under the priority habitat or estimated habitat, and therefore does not require any filing with the Mass Endangered Species Act. The lot itself has actually previously been developed as a subdivision. It's completely landscaped lawn that's been in that state for a number of years now. So specific to Lot 8, Lot 8 is a 1,715 square foot building. It will be elevated in accordance with the flood zone standards. First floor would be above, minimally 1 foot above the flood zone. There'll be no change essentially to the existing grading. The interior portion of the dwelling will be a foundation wall with appropriate flood venting, and the interior will be a gravel base to provide recharge storm flow through the dwelling itself in the rare case of a flood. I mean, this area is fairly well elevated above South Beach Street. We don't typically see flooding up at this elevation, not to say that it's not coming that way in the future. The lot itself is serviced by public water and public sewer. Roof drainage is connected to a subsurface drainage system that exists on the property, and we are proposing a shell access and shell driveway for the dwelling itself. There is some associated decking and porches with the building. There is also a buried 250-gallon propane tank that would be placed as part of the infrastructure or utilities for the site. We do have our DEP file number. The application itself does list the standards, performance standards within land subject to coastal storm flowage. We feel the application meets those standards, and there are no waivers proposed. So happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you, Paul. Do any commission members have questions or comments? Oh, we're not at the other ones yet. The ones we already heard, yeah. Any members of the public have questions or comments? Jeff, do we have everything we need to close on Lot 8?
Yes.
Okay.
Could we get a motion to close,
I'll
please?
make a motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike, for the second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? That carries unanimously. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
And we'll move right on to New England Development, 19 North Water Street, Lot 9, SE 48 3782, also represented by Paul Santos.
Thank you. For the record, Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors on behalf of the property owner and applicant, White Elephant Hotel Residences LLC, care of New England Development. Again, this is a residential lot located within the White Elephant Residences subdivision. This is a 1,720 square foot building footprint that will be constructed on this specific lot, Lot 9. Site will be serviced by public sewer, public water. Roof drains will be tied to a subsurface system that is located on the White Elephant Residences property. We would also include a buried propane tank. Driveway would be serviced by a shell driveway. The reason we're before you, similar to Lot 8, is we are located within a AE flood zone, AE 8. Building will be elevated in accordance with the flood zone standards, and there will be minimal, if any, grading. The exterior of the site will be left intact to match the grading that's out there now. System will be a crawl space, foundation wall, appropriate flood vents. Interior would be a gravel base to allow for infiltration
on the particular lot. We do have our DEP file number. As with the last one, we are not located within any land subject to NHESP regulations. Have our DEP file number, and happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you, Paul. Any questions or comments from members of the commission? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Jeff, do we have everything we need to close?
Yes.
Paul, would you like to close?
Yes, please.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike, for the second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? That carries unanimously. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
And that will bring us on to the third application, which is New England Development at 19 North Water Street, Lot 10C, SE 483783, represented by Paul Santos.
Thank you. For the record, Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors on behalf of the property owner and applicant, White Elephant Hotel Residences LLC, care of New England Development. Lot 10C is a single-family residence, which will be the final infill on the lots located just south of White Elephant Way. This is an application before you as we are in the land subject to coastal storm flowage, specifically the AE Elevation 8 zone. The dwelling itself on 10C would be approximately 1,730 square feet, constructed on a concrete foundation, appropriate flood vents. Interior would be a gravel base within the crawl space area. Site is serviced by public water, public sewer, infrastructure. There would be a shell driveway constructed. In addition to the other utilities, public sewer, public water, it's actually underground telephone cable and electric. There would be a buried 250-gallon propane tank located on the site. Roof drainage will be tied to the existing subsurface system that exists in the White Elephant Villages complex. We do have our DEP file number, and similar to the other applications, again, single-family dwelling, infill on a residential subdivision. Happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you, Paul. Any questions or comments from members of the commission? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Seeing none. Jeff, do we have everything we need to close?
Yes.
Paul, would you like to close?
Yes, thank you all.
Is there a motion to close?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike, for the second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? That carries unanimously. Thank you, Paul. So that will bring us to our next filing under the notice of intent, which is, yeah, I see it, just Smiley at 15th North Water Street LLC, or 15th North Water LLC, 15th North Water Street, SE 483784, represented by Art Gasparo. Art, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Similar to right in the same neighborhood as the last few applications, we're working strictly within land subject to coastal storm flowage, and proposing the addition, the driveway. Believe there's no adverse impact on the no change of grade, and rather. We're also going to put the mechanical equipment up on elevated platforms. So those are the three aspects. There's the deck, the driveway, enclosing the porch, and the HVAC units. I'd be happy to take questions or concerns if you had any.
Thank you, Art. Do any members of the commission have any questions or comments for this application? Yeah, let me just, I think I had one thing here. One second. Yes. All right, I have a question. So the proposed board fence, is that proposed to go all the way to the ground elevation?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I suppose if the concern was with the, I don't have a real detail on it. So if there was a concern with the free flow of floodwaters, which I'm gonna just guess that might be the situation, I would think that we could leave a gap under there.
Yes, thank you. My concern is for our performance standard related to making sure that the work doesn't reduce the ability of the land to absorb and contain floodwater. So if it was a board fence with, no spacing all the way to the ground, that certainly could play a factor in that. So if we could just have an appropriate gap either within the boards or within the bottom of the board and the grounds, we would appreciate that. But I do think we might need some type of drawing to have included in the packet to, make sure that what is being submitted is actually what's getting permitted.
If I may, in response, Mr. Chairman, I think that we could say that there would be, well, why don't I continue with that, I guess, and just check in with the architect and the owners. I wouldn't want to commit to a certain, my sense is that we could probably be all right to say a couple inches off of the ground, but let me bring it back to them and we can try to get you that information for the meeting on the 25th.
Okay, thank you. Before we continue, do any other members of the commission have questions or comments? Are there any questions or comments from members of the public? So that being said, Art, you would like to continue to July 25th?
Well, I guess if I could just, Mr. Chairman, if a gap of say 2 or 3 inches off of the ground met your concerns, I think that's where we're going to end up anyway. Then I think that we could be amenable to a condition that that states that there would be a clear gap of say 3 inches from the grade to the bottom of the fence. And if for some reason that didn't work with the owners, then I could come back for a modification.
Yeah, I think we can handle this in order of conditions by saying that how the board fence is constructed must be constructed in a way as to not limit the ability to absorb and contain floodwaters on site, and that prior to construction, a architectural plan for that fence should be submitted to staff for review.
Thank you.
Would you be amenable to that, Mr. Gasparo?
Certainly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. In that case, Jeff, do we have everything that we need to close?
Yes, sir.
All right, would you like to close?
Yes, please.
Do we have a motion to close?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Linda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike, for the second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? That carries unanimously. Thank you, Art.
Thank you.
So that will bring us to our next notice of intent, which is Gregson at 189 Pulpus Road, SE 48 3787, also represented by Art Gasparo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair,
Hold on, Art. I believe Arthur Reed is here in the room, and
Yeah.
it seems like he may want to say something.
Right, I'd want to lead off on this, and then Art and I are working together, and he'll follow with a description of the project after I just set the stage as to what's going on here.
Okay, thank you. Arthur, please introduce yourself and go from there.
Thank you. Attorney Arthur Reed, representing Edith Gregson, owner of the subject property, who is here tonight with me, along with her husband, Eric Smith. This is a situation in which, in the early spring of 2022, the direct neighbor to the property entered upon this property and cut vegetation without permission, without notice, on our property, also some on their property, yeah, even closer to the wetland boundary. And this was done without any permission, as what I think was a blatant act of trespass. We've attempted to work with the neighbor since that time toward the idea of their remediating the situation and cooperating to deal with it, but we've been frustrated by the fact that the neighbor has insisted upon coupling this with an issue in which they've been trespassing on another part of our property and have made their participation contingent upon our granting them an easement for the work, for the trespass that they have on the other part of the property. So finally, we've come before you since that has not been resolved and there's now litigation between the parties because there is this violation that's taken place on our property. We're responsible as the property owner to deal with it. And we're coming before you with a plan for the revegetation and restoration of the area in question, which Art will describe to you. As I said, my clients are here. They can corroborate any of this and answer any questions that you may have with regard to any of us, to any of this. They just showed me a picture that showed, the area in question, and there's a green area of vegetation in the whole area, and then a swath of land right through the middle of it that even 3 years later is the result of the trespass and unauthorized cutting that took place. So with that, I'd pass it to Art again to describe exactly what we're proposing in connection with the remediation.
Thank you, Arthur. Art, would you like to pick up from there?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as shown on the plan, essentially the area was cleared and grubbed. And what we've proposed is to come in with a variety of native species to repopulate the area, essentially using cedar, blueberry, bayberry, and arrowwood. The work is almost all entirely outside of the 50-foot buffer zone right along the property line. I would say there's no work closer than 45 feet to the resource area. Again, the resource area is a vegetated wetland located on the adjacent property to the north, which we've scaled off of other plans, so it's not exact, but we're clearly not within the 25-foot buffer zone. And again, we believe that the project is clearly one of a net benefit and all environmental interests protected by the commission. So if you had any questions or concerns, we'd be happy to try to address those.
Thank you, Art. And before we go to commissioners' comments or members of the public, if the property owners would like to say anything, you're welcome to. You're not required to, but if you'd like to, now is your chance. Okay, thank you. So do members of the commission have any questions or comments? Yes, Linda.
I'm just appalled. I understand it's your responsibility to revegetate it, and I hope things come out on your favor litigation, because I can see it's just, I'm appalled by it. I don't know why. I don't know why anybody thinks that they can trespass on someone else's property and cut down their vegetation. I just had to say that. I think it's disgusting.
And in addition to the effect of doing this cutting within the buffer zone, my client's concerned about it for the obvious reason that it provided some vegetative screening in the property, and that distresses them. But the issue and the reason we're here, obviously, is because of the wetland, the intrusion upon the buffer zone.
Yes, thank you. And obviously our jurisdiction isn't related to the legal issues pressing, but we thank you for coming in with this filing to address the issues to the resource areas. Any other members of the commission wish to say anything? Yes, Jeff, go ahead.
No, I'm not technically a member of the commission.
Staff is fine.
I did want to say is Arthur and his clients did reach out to us, and we have been on site, obviously outside of our regular field viewing, and worked for a bit of time to try to bring this to resolution and permitting for both sides as well. and 100% hear their frustration with the situation, because I think we also were very frustrated. So we're still looking, and I wish Will was here because he was the one that's working on it, but are still looking at the property on the other side of the line for the abutter for potential enforcement, but we definitely appreciate the proactive nature of the applicant here in dealing with a situation that's really not theirs to deal with, but are really taking the best step they can, and definitely appreciate that from a staff level.
I would comment, by the way, that my reading of the Nantucket bylaw and regs do not impose any limitation, any statute of limitations on any enforcement action, unlike some provisions in the state act. So I think you would be well justified in bringing an enforcement action against the property, which, as I noted at the beginning, and you can see from the plan, what they did on their property is even closer to the wetland boundary than what they did on ours.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Reed. And this is something I looked into as well, but I'm not a lawyer, and I won't pretend to be one. But there is a concern that ultimately enforcements that are issued at a local level have to be submitted and, go through the DEP process. So I do believe we are held to that statute of limitations that DEP imposes, except if we do some of the things that have been proposed in the past, like trying to do criminal fining or something like that. But I don't believe, well, I don't know the situation enough, but I think we might have to get a legal opinion on some of these alternative enforcement options. So thank you.
I will say we are well within the statute of limitations through Mass DEP for the neighboring property.
Thank you, Jeff, for clarifying that. Mr. Madden, I see your hand, but before we go to you, do any members of the public who are here physically present want to say anything? Okay, Mr. Madden, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Brian Madden from LEC Environmental. I represent the abutter to the north at 191 Pulpus Road. I just wanted to make a few points of clarification. So the area in question that we're talking about that was cut was an area of a monoculture of invasive bamboo, nearly 100% invasive bamboo. And the property owner, his landscaper had removed the bamboo and, unaware of property lines, extended onto the neighboring parcel. Subsequent to that cutting, which took place in spring 2021, I had drafted a notice of intent and a restoration plan to submit to the Conservation Commission, and had reached out to the neighbors on several occasions to file a joint application to restore the area. Unfortunately, we were unable to get a signed notice of intent application in order to file that application. So we've had subsequently 3 growing seasons. The area has refilled in nicely with native vegetation. There are fescue grasses throughout the area. There's also groundsel tree shrubs coming in quite nicely. I was personally last out there September 2023. I do have some photographs, some recent photographs, but the only other comment I would make is that, the planting plan that is proposed currently is dense in shrubs along with the cedars. There are some existing shrubs within that area that should be protected as they are regenerating. So any planting should be worked around existing shrubs to avoid disturbing what's already establishing nicely. And with that, I will conclude my statements. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And although I'm the #1 person to root for getting rid of non-native invasive species, and especially have a intense dislike for bamboo, you well know that all projects within the buffer zones require filing. So seems like there's some neighborly disputes that we are not going to get into today, 'cause it's not germane to our process, but thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Mr. Chair, my
Yes.
client would like to address the issue of bamboo and the plant mix that existed on the property before the cutting.
Thank you. Please approach the mic and identify your name and the property address, please.
Sure. Good evening, Eric Smith. My wife and I own 189 Pulpus Road. Thank you. I understand time is of the essence here, so I'll be very brief. The area was not 100% bamboo. I respect Mr. Madden. I know his credentials, but I think that's misleading. We've got photos before and after. There's Google Earth photos that can demonstrate that that wasn't the case. As far as an innocent landscaper mistake, it was 80 feet across the property line. It feels a lot more than an innocent mistake. And on top of that, there is still a lot of bamboo on their property that was left. So if the intent was to get rid of all the bamboo, they left a lot behind. And I invite anyone to come out and see. You'll see bamboo on both sides. Finally, I took a picture of the property tonight before I came over, just in case anyone wanted to see it. And it doesn't look like it did. It's all grass, comes up to my knee. The shrubs, the trees, everything else that was there that shielded our homes from each other is gone. So if anyone claims it looks like it did, it's growing back nicely, I don't believe that. I haven't seen it in 3 growing seasons. And finally, I'll say as far as our proposal goes, we had agreed with our neighbor on a plan that Mr. Madden produced. They decided not to pay for it, and so we had to go create our own plan, and we used Mr. Madden's plan as a model because we were happy with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And I will say that any photos that you have that you want entered into the record need to be submitted to the commission staff. So you can send them to Jeff or Will. And without that, we don't have the proof of record. So we would request those photos, please. I appreciate it.
We'll be happy to submit them, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak? Linda, do you have something to say? Mike, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just for the benefit of the owners who showed up, for one, thank you for putting the resource area back together. And we can also require monitoring reports as part of our order of conditions.
Thank you, Mike. So at this point, Jeff, do we have everything we need to close this?
Yes.
Arthur, Art, would you like to close?
Certainly.
Do we have a motion to
I'll
close?
make a motion to close, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike, for the second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That carries unanimously. Thank you, Arthur and Art and
Thank you.
the property owners.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So that will now take us to Lynn R. Kudish Revocable Trust at 13 Meadow Lane, SE 48 3785, represented by Paul Santos. Okay, well. All right. Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you. On behalf of the property owner and applicant, Frederick M. Kudish, the trustee of the Lynn R. Kudish Revocable Trust, Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors. With the chair's commission, could I hand out a supplement to the plan that's up on the board there? It's a
Yes, as long as each member has one and the staff have one, so that can be entered to
staff was
record.
emailed one today, so.
Yes,
We got it prior
please go
to.
ahead.
Okay, thank you. That plan you see is essentially, it's the same plan that's up on the board, with the exception of, I've added in the grading area around the pool to just give a sense of what we're trying to do there. This application is for the proposed relocation of an existing garage, installation of an in-ground fiberglass pool, landscaping and utilities within the 100-foot buffer zone to a vegetated wetland. The subject property itself is located on the north side of Meadow Lane. Site is approximately 23,119 square feet. It includes a single-family home on a developed lot with the surrounding land uses all being residential. The site is not located within a flood hazard zone, and it is not mapped priority habitat or estimated habitat, and does not require a filing with NHESP. The plan that you see up on the screen, the plan that you have before you, depicts the existing single-family dwelling. The area where the proposed pool is shown, you'll see kind of grayscaled on your plan, is where the existing garage is right now. So the existing garage occupies the area in which the pool would be proposed. That will be picked up and moved forward, and you'll see at the Meadowview Drive or the Meadow Drive area where the gravel drive is, that's where the front garage would be moved. It's partially within the 100-foot buffer zone, but has no other effect with regard to the wetland resource areas. So the pool itself, as I said, was a fiberglass pool. Within your packet, I believe, is a cut sheet of the pool itself. It, at a maximum depth, I believe is only approximately 6 or 7 feet at the deep end, but there is the cut sheet in there. There you go, a little bit twisted there, and I think it's 6, 7 feet if you look at the lower end. So the structure comes in as a whole unit. The excavation is done, and the pool is dropped in. Size of the pool is approximately, I gave my plan away, but it's on the plan. So the application itself does not require any waivers. The reason the pool has been elevated above the groundwater, if you'll look at the properties abutting, those were developed within the last few years. And both of those properties, the elevation, the grade has been raised. So we intend to raise the grade in the area of the pool to match the grade of those abutting properties. When you go out there now, and it's, I think, evident in some of the pictures that have been submitted, there is a wood fence that exists on the abutting property, and there is a small, the area is retained on the abutting property. We will then match that grade. I've shown on the plan that I submitted to you, although the entire area where this is occurring is the area where the existing garage is. It occurs within the remaining areas within an existing lawn area. It's already disturbed, but I did show the area to prove that there would be no future or no more additional disturbance over the 50% required between the 25 and the 50-foot buffer zone. Although the area is already disturbed, it now will be what's lawn would be fill, so we just did want to show that we met the threshold of the 50% requirement within the 25 to 50. So again, the proposal essentially is the garage move, construction of the pool. The dimension is there actually 15'9" by 35 feet. We've kept it above the groundwater table by raising and elevating to meet the grade at the abutting properties. And any questions that the commission may have, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Paul. Do any members of the commission have questions or comments? Do any members of the public have questions or comments? Let's check the Zoom. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Schaefer.
Yeah, Paul, are you going to change the driveway to get into the garage? Or?
Can we go back to that front? I'm not sure what they'll do. They haven't, we haven't been to I don't typically go to the HDC, but I'm sure they'll probably rework. Yeah, the garage right now, I think it's used more for storage than it is actually putting a vehicle in. But there is a door there, and the driveway would be changed. But again, that would be outside the commission's jurisdiction. It would be outside the 100-foot jurisdiction. So I'm sure they probably would do something there, John. And I actually think there's some talk about maybe sliding that back a little bit. That, that's where we put it, but I think the HTC might feel that's too close to to Meadow Lane, but any change there, I would come back with a minor mod if I had to.
Thank you, Paul. Anyone else? Jeff, do we have everything we need to close?
Yes, sir.
Paul, would you like to close?
Yes, please.
Is there a motion to close?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Linda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstain? That carries unanimously. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
So that will end our notice of intent. Linda, I'm aware you have to leave. Please mark for the minutes that Linda Williams left at 6:17 p.m.
I'm going to call in.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll mark the period that you weren't there until when you called back. So that will take us into amended orders of conditions, but before we open the first and only amended order, I recused on this notice of intent originally, and with Linda not here as well, that would take you down to 5 commissioners. It is Osprey Way Realty Trust, 1 Osprey Way at SE 48 3741. Okay, Linda, would you be willing to take over?
I already texted them where they seem to be.
Okay, please, at least.
Okay. Thank you. For the record, Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors. On behalf of the applicant, Patricia A. Halstead, who is the trustee of Osprey Way Real Estate Trust. This is an amended order of conditions for a property located at 1 Osprey Way. This is a piece of property that is located bordering on Hummock Pond. I was before the commission less than 6 months or so ago, and we came in to request under an order of conditions additions to both the pond house, if you will, and the second dwelling or cottage on the subject property. I'm before you tonight for an amended order for the area that you see in red, which is essentially 2 kind of granite, spaced out granite. There's a picture on the plan also, basically patio or terrace areas. Quite honestly, if the original application had had a landscaping component in it, I think I would have filed this as a minor mod. But however, when there was no mention of landscape on that original application, we felt it was necessary to come in as an amended order of conditions. So that's why we're before you tonight, is the 2 areas that you see in red. There is a photo on the plan also that kind of gives you a sense of what those areas will look like. They are outside the 25-foot no disturb. And you'll see right there, that's kind of what they're looking to do there, kind of a granite patio terrace with some pervious infill grasses around it. And that's the extent of the application. As I said, if I had enough forethought and put landscaping into the original order, I maybe could have done this under a minor mod, but that being said, we're here as an amended order of conditions. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any board members have questions? Seeing none, Jeff, is anybody up online?
No.
Okay.
I would recommend that you could close and issue the amended order.
Okay, does somebody want to make a motion to close and issue?
Motion to close.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Tim seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All good.
Thank you, everyone.
Just have to come back. That's what we need.
There's the chairman.
Been having to do a lot of talking. Need to go get a quick drink, you know? Get the drinking done. Got a bathroom break.
Thank you. Okay, everybody, that will take us into our public meeting. We'll start with requests for determination of applicability. We have Mua Besic LLC, 20 East Lincoln Avenue, represented by Brian Madden. Brian, go ahead.
Thank you very much. For the record, Brian Madden from LEC Environmental Consultants, representing the LLC, the property owner. The RDA before you is to confirm the boundary to an isolated vegetated wetland within the southeasterly portion of the site. The entire subject parcel is located within land subject to coastal storm flowage, elevation 7. But the IVW is located in that southeasterly corner, easterly corner. 8 wetland flags is shown on the site plans. It's one of those typical little pocket wetlands in the Brant Point area that's mostly occupied by Phragmites and knotweed. I believe staff's been out there to review, but I'll turn it over to them.
Thank you, Brian. Jeff, have the staff been out to review?
Yes, and I think we feel comfortable in recommending a positive 2A for the isolated vegetated wetland and the land subject to coastal storm flowage.
Before that, do commissioners have any questions or comments? Seeing none, would somebody like to issue the positive, or make a motion to issue the positive 2A here?
Motion to make a positive 2A.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim, for the second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That carries unanimously. That carries unanimously with Ms. Williams not here. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Take care.
So that's the only RDA we have today. We don't have any minor modifications. So that will move us on to certificates of compliance. We'll start with El Nagar, 30 Union Street, SE 48, 3652, and we just need a motion to accept the withdrawal. Would somebody like to make that motion?
Motion to accept the withdrawal.
Thank you, Mike. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? That carries unanimously. And that will move us to Low Shimo Nominee Trust at 42 Shimo Pond Road. We'll take these two together, SE 48 741 and SE 48 801, represented by Arthur Gasparo.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I think these both got taken care of at your
Yes.
last meeting.
I was going to say, those were inadvertently carried over. We approved those at the regulation hearing.
Okay, thank
So
you.
That was
Well,
posted in there.
I am glad that they were issued. Sorry about that. So we'll move on to Meisenberg at 30 Walwinet Road, SE 4830 or 3018, and SE 483660, also represented by Art Gasparo. Go ahead with these ones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the older of the two, I'll take them together if that's okay. The older of the two was for a septic upgrade. As part of that permitting, there had been a shed that had been installed without permitting and needed to be removed. So we filed the subsequent order to remove the shed and some other hardscape features, and then some plantings were installed as restoration for that area. So the first one was an IA septic system, which is received a certificate of compliance from the health department. And then the second was the removal of the shed and the hardscaping and installation of plantings, and all of that has been done.
Thank you. Do commissioners have any questions or comments related to these certificates of compliance? Jeff, have staff gone out to the site, and do you have a recommendation for us?
Yes, we recommend that both of these can be issued.
Is there any ongoing conditions associated with either of these
Not
orders?
for these two, no.
Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion to issue the certificates of compliance, both for SC 38 or SC 3018 and SC 3660? Is there a motion?
Motion for the certificate of compliance.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, those are issued. And that moves us on to 32 Hulbert Trust, 32 Hulbert Avenue, at SE 48 35 75, also represented by Art Gasparo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was residential development of a vacant lot in Brant Point within land subject to coastal storm flowage. And then there's the rear portion of the lot. There was some work within the buffer zone to a small isolated vegetated wetland. And that work is all now complete and the vegetation established. And I believe is compliant with the order as issued and amended maybe one or two times.
Thank you, Art. Do any commission members have questions or comments? Staff, have you been out to the site and do you have a recommendation for us?
Yes, we recommend that it be issued with no ongoing conditions.
Would somebody like to make that motion?
Motion for the certificate of compliance.
Thank you, Mike. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, John, for the second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, thank you. That will move us on to our next certificate of compliance, which is Seven Doors Nominee Trust at 13 Lincoln Avenue, SE 48 3706, represented by Art Gasparo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was a small swimming pool and hardscaping located within the buffer zone to vegetated wetland along Spring Street, and that work was completed in substantial compliance.
Thank you. Do any members of the commission have questions or comments? Staff, have you been out to the site and do you have a recommendation for us?
We do, and we're recommending that it get issued with ongoing conditions 2021, 22, 23, and 24. And to kind of summarize all of those, 20 is for exterior lighting to be directed away from the resource area. 21 requires that due to the topography, that any draining needs to be pumped by truck and disposed of properly. 22 is that the pool shouldn't be chemically treated between November 1st and May 1st. 23, that all chemical treatment shall stop 3 weeks prior to any draining or discharging of the pool. And 24, that the applicant provide the contact information of any company maintaining the pool and that they'll provide 48-hour notice prior to any draining to commission staff.
Thank you. Would somebody like to make a motion to issue the certificate of compliance with the ongoing conditions that Jeff just mentioned?
Motion to issue the certificate of compliance
With the ongoing conditions?
with ongoing conditions.
Thank you, Mike. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, John, for the second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, that carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, I'm going to recuse for these next two. I've worked out on that property in the past.
Thank you, Mike. So the next two that he is mentioning are Laz Family Nominee Trust at 20 Wacoit Road, SE 48 2901 and SE 48 3131. That's cool. Represented by Art Gasparo.
I love numbers too. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These two I'll take together. One of them was for installation of a pool and a structure within the buffer zone to coastal bank. The pool and some hardscaping was installed. The secondary structure was not constructed. And the other was for beach nourishment and dune planting, which never commenced. So I filed an application today for it. Again.
Thank you. Do any members of the commission have questions or comments? Staff, do we have a recommendation for this site?
Yeah, obviously for the second one. For the second one, that can be issued just to invalidate the order. And then the other one above, excuse me, the one for the pool spa and pool fence and all that fun stuff. We're recommending that condition 19 be carried forward. That just requires that the pool may not be drained or discharged to an area inside the commission's jurisdiction.
All right, just for clarity, let's do two motions. So on SE 48 2901, the recommendation is to issue the certificate of compliance with ongoing condition 19. Would somebody like to make that motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Tim. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? So that carries with 5 votes in the affirmative and Mr. Mizzarelli recused. And then on the second certificate, SE 483131, the motion is to issue the certificate just to invalidate the order. Would somebody like to make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Thank you, John. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim, for the second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? That carries with 5 votes in the affirmative and Mr. Mizzarelli recused. All right.
Thank you.
So that is, thank you, Art. So that is the end of our certificates of compliance. And that will take us to orders of condition, which Will sent out earlier. But Jeff, maybe we can get these on the screen or
Yes.
talk
we'll
about
try
them.
Our best. I'm also trying to troubleshoot with this, having trouble getting back on.
All right.
But we will multitask.
So we are starting orders of condition with Town of Nantucket at My Comment Pond, various SE 48 3764.
Outside of general instructions, I'm assuming for a positive order, we have not drafted one of those yet. Because we're still waiting for those final condition language from Heritage too.
Yes, thank you. Does anybody have any specific conditions that they'd like the staff to discuss or to know of before we adjourn today so that they can put them into the orders of condition? Or do we trust them to draft it as they see fit?
I'm sorry for not following along. Are we talking about any of the orders? Of
No, we're
conditions?
talking about just My Comment Ponds right now.
Okay.
Anything anyone thinks of it? If not, it's fine. Sounds like Jeff and will draft the order and have it to us at the July 25th meeting for review. So the next order of conditions is, let's see here. The next one should be Leland Shanty Nominee Trust 52R and 54R, Tennessee Avenue, SC 48 3776. And this one was sent out. Did people receive these orders of conditions from Will earlier today? Okay, so we'll try to get it up on the screen, but in the meantime, we can just go over it. So this permit, here we go. Yeah, Jeff, you
Get
can.
Linda squared away too.
Yeah, you can just take this away with the overview. Do you want to just describe the permit overview and the conditions?
Oh, sure. Sorry. I just want to make sure we're on the Tennessee Ave one.
Yes, we are on that.
Sorry, I got distracted. So the overview, this was for the maintenance of the existing elevated walkway, ramp, float, and structure within land under the ocean, land subject to coastal storm flowage, and a salt marsh. Waivers are not required for this project. I think from the discussion earlier, I think we would like that to say waivers are required for the project.
Yes, I think in additional findings, we should have a finding that says the structure meets, or was built before the Wetlands Protection Act and meets the requirements for pre-existing use. And then we should apply the waiver that is related to pre-existing use, which I can find, or I'm sure you have it.
So the structure was constructed prior to the enactment of the Wetlands Protection Act and qualifies as pre-existing use. And
It's waiver D. The commission
Yeah.
shall grant a waiver from these regulations when the work proposed is grandfathered and qualifies as a pre-existing use. Beyond that, while Jeff is drafting that, did anyone else have anything else that they'd like to see amended to this order of conditions? All right, we'll wait for that and then we'll take a motion. It's high stakes for sure.
I think, Mr. Chairman, because I'm on the phone, you may have to take a roll call vote for anything.
Yes, we do. I'm aware of that. Thank you.
I mean, that's the language that's in the.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Would somebody like to make a motion to issue the order of conditions as amended?
So moved.
Thank you, Tim. Would someone like to second that?
Second.
We'll give it to John today because he's new. So because Linda is now on the phone, we do have to take a roll call vote. Mike Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski, Mark Beal, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
and Seth Engelborg votes aye. That carries unanimously. Thank you. So moving on in orders of conditions, the next one that we closed is 47 Wall Street LLC, 47 Wall Street SE 48 3778. And Will sent these out and hopefully we can get it on the screen. Yep, we got it up there. So Jeff, could you just give the overview for this one?
Sure. So this is the after-the-fact installation of a pervious brick access way and driveway to accommodate wheelchair access within land subject to coastal storm flowage. Waivers are not required for this project. And then down in additional conditions, it's our standard condition, number 18, and then 19 is our standard condition related to fill for any fill that had been brought into the site.
Thank you. Any additions or comments by commissioners? Seeing none, would somebody like to make a motion to issue the order of conditions as drafted?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim, for the second. By roll call vote, Mike Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski, Mark Beal, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Yes.
Linda.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And Seth Engelborg votes aye. That is approved unanimously. So moving on in orders of conditions, the next one is Pilgrim's Corner Realty Trust, 16 Paul Jones Road, SE 48 3779. And we'll send these out and it should be up on the screen for us.
Sure. So the overview on this is it permits the construction of a pool, patio, deck, and retaining wall with associated landscaping, grading, and utility installation within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. No waivers are required. And then just to kind of run through the conditions really quickly, our two standard conditions that we just had on the last one, that the pool shall not be drained or discharged into an area within commission's jurisdiction. No chemical treatments between November 1st and May 1st. Chemical treatment should stop 3 weeks prior to any draining or discharging. Applicant shall provide the contact information for the company maintaining the pool, and they'll provide notice to the commission prior to draining. And then I think this must be a choice that Will was trying to give you guys, that given the topography of the site, any pool draining that needs to take place shall be pumped and disposed of, shall be pumped by truck and disposed of properly at the sewage treatment facility or be in compliance with Chapter 361 of the Code of the Town of Nantucket. For those who are not sure what that is, Chapter 361 of the Code of the Town of Nantucket is the illicit discharge regulations that require those areas to be discharged to essentially vegetated upland areas or existing designated drainage areas. And then number 25 is that all exterior lighting be directed away from the resource area.
Thank you. And these are the standard pool conditions that we've been putting in recently. This one about the pump to a truck and in compliance with Chapter 361. It's a few months ago we made that change, but we've been putting those for all pools recently.
That's just me being rusty. Sorry about that.
Quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
Do they charge for that at the facility, or is that free?
Can you just go in the mic?
I just had a tour of the facility a week ago, and it's interesting because I asked the guy who's the director there, David, his last name escapes me, Greg. I said, how many people show up with pool water? He says, maybe a handful a year.
Okay, well, maybe let people know that was a free service that might get the water in the right place.
It's interesting because the other free service is if you own a restaurant, the grease removal is free.
Yeah, thank you. And we've been putting a lot of these discharge to a truck conditions into place. I've also heard that probably less people are doing it than their permits say they should. And I'm sure this could be an area of enforcement, but we still need to put the conditions into place or else we don't have anything to enforce on. So any comments, questions, additions to this order of conditions? All right, would somebody like to make a motion to issue the order of conditions as drafted?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Tim, for the second. Let's go by roll call vote. We'll start with Mike Miserelli.
Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Joe Plandowski. Mark Beal.
Aye.
John Schaefer.
Aye.
And Linda Williams.
Aye.
And Seth Engelborg, the chair, votes aye. So thank you. And that will move us to our next order of conditions, which is O'Callahan, 8 Second Way, SC 48 3780. And Jeff, would you like to give the overview of this one, please?
Sure. Sure, it's for the permits, the construction of a secondary dwelling with associated landscaping, grading, utility installation within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. And again, these are, our first two are pretty standard conditions, and then the third one is also pretty standard for us, just that exterior lighting be directed away from the resource area and in compliance with the town lighting bylaw.
Thank you, Jeff. Do any members of the commission have questions, comments, additions? Or if not, is there a motion to issue as drafted?
What about the tree?
Yes, so thank you, John. So the tree is not really in our purview. It's possibly in our purview because of wetland scenic view, but I think honestly that's a issue that's better handled at a neighborly level.
Okay.
If Jeff knows any creative ways to create conditions that would do something about that, I'm happy to hear them, but it's a little bit outside of our jurisdiction.
I think if I may, the issues with putting it in conditions right now are, one, we don't really know where the tree is or the canopy is. And I think it's something that honestly, we can probably get a hold of Mr. Guevara and Mr. Haynes and probably get them both on the site at the same time and probably solve the problem. It may not even be an issue, and we're happy to take it. Like I said, we have a certified arborist on staff, so we really couldn't have a better person to go out and solve that issue. And I'm confident we can review that without
Thank you.
shenanigans.
Thank you, Jeff. John, does that answer your question?
Thank you.
In that case, would you like to make a motion to issue the order of conditions as drafted?
Yes, make a motion, so moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
We need to do roll call vote. So Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski, Mark Beal, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. And Seth Engelborg, the chair, votes aye. So that will move us to our next order of conditions, which by my record is New England Development, 19 North Water Street, Lot 8, SC 483781.
All right, so as a quick spoiler alert, the next three are going to look exactly the same. So it's permits the construction of a single-family dwelling with associated landscaping, grading, utility installation within land subject to coastal storm flowage. No waivers are required. And again, the three conditions that are there are pretty standard: work, fill, and exterior lighting condition.
Any questions, comments, amendments from commission members? If not, do we have a motion to issue the certificate of compliance or the order of conditions as drafted?
Motion to issue the order conditions as drafted.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim. By roll call vote, Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski, Mark Beal, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
and Seth Engelborg, the chair,
Aye.
votes aye. And that will move us to the next one, which is still New England Development, 19 North Water Street, now Lot 9, SE 483782. Same exact conditions. I think we can go straight to a motion. Do we have a motion to issue this as drafted?
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, by roll call vote, Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski, Mark Beal, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
and the chair, Seth Engelborg, votes aye. And then we have New England Development, 19 North Water Street, Lot 10C, SE 483783. Again, with the same conditions on the permit. Do we have a motion to issue this as drafted?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim. By roll call vote, Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski, Mark Beal, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
and Seth Engelborg, the chair, votes aye. So thank you, and that will bring us down to Smiley, 15 North Water LLC at 15th North Water Street, SE 483784. Jeff, if you want to give the overview of this, that would be great.
Sure. So real quickly, this is for the construction of a deck, elevated mechanical equipment. I'm going to actually put in board fence and driveway with associated landscaping. So we'll do it on the fly so we don't lose track of it. With landscaping, green utility installation within land subject to coastal storm flowage. Again, so it's the same three conditions that we've had prior, and kind of smurfing one up on the fly here for 21. So it'll read, and I'll type it as we go. I'll say, prior to construction of the board fence, the applicant shall submit an architectural drawing demonstrating that the fence will not impede floodwaters for commission staff review and approval.
That captures my points. If anyone else has anything to add, please do so. Okay. With that, do we have a motion to issue the order of conditions as amended?
So moved.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. By roll call vote, Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski, Mark Beal, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
and the chair, Seth Engelborg, votes aye. Thank you all, and thank you, Jeff, for getting that for us. And that will now bring us to Gregson, 189 Pulpus Road, SE 3787. Jeff, if you want to give the overview of this, that'd be great.
Sure. So this was the one that permits the revegetation of a disturbed area with native plantings within the buffer zone to a BVW. So again, we have our first two conditions, which are pretty standard. Number 20, that all plantings be native species with no cultivars. And then 21, that the applicant shall present a yearly report, including photographs demonstrating the condition and survivorship of the replanted area and the existing vegetated areas. Should the commission determine that additional plantings are necessary, they will be authorized based on this discussion.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, additions from the board members?
Yeah, is that a
John?
typical condition, a yearly report?
Yes.
I'm new, so.
Yes,
just-
pretty much in any permit that has to do with restoration, there is almost always an annual report required, including photographs, and in some cases including more data, but at least the annual photographic report is required.
Thanks.
I do have one question, Jeff, and this is a question I've brought up before, I think both with you and with Will. And there's been periods of time when we've put dates in the permit of when these reports should be submitted by, and there's been other periods when we have just left it up to the applicant. Does the staff have any preference on how they want these filed?
I think if we could, I'll speak for Will. Dates are always nice because that way it gives us a point where we can make that phone call and say, you owe us that report, or you didn't get it to us on time, or it gives us a set, or else you play this game of like, well, it says yearly, so I have until December 31st. So we typically say in these cases, something after the growing season is usually pretty good for them to get that report in. I would think in a case like this, we could probably say, November 1st would probably be okay. Unless someone has a date of different thought, so.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about this too. If we say every report has to be done by December 31st or something, then Will gets a nice Christmas present of a bunch of monitoring reports. So I think there could be that just for standardization, or the other option is that the reports just need to come in by the anniversary of the filing date. But really, this is a staff question, so whatever staff wants, we'll do it for you.
I think actually for ones like this, getting them all around at the same time is pretty good, because that way at least we're not playing chase for everything. We know that, right? If November 1st is the day, we can keep a list and dealing with it. And most of the coastal projects where we're looking at monitoring for things like CESs or core logs are usually not this same time of year. And those are usually the much more intense reports anyways. Getting a bunch of reports with photographs and vegetative counts are not too bad to take a look at. So I think we'll be fine. I'll speak for Will and say November 1st works really well for stuff like this. And it's a slower time of year just for stuff.
All right.
So.
Commissioner is okay with adding November 1st as the date by which their yearly report needs to be submitted? All right. Anything else? Or if not, can we make a motion to issue the order of conditions as amended?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim, for the second. By roll call vote, Mike Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski, Mark Beal, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
and Seth Ingberg, the chair, votes aye. And finally, we have Lynn R. Kudish Revocable Trust, 13 Meadow Lane, SC 48 3785. Jeff, do you want to overview this one, please?
Sure. So this was for the relocation of an existing garage, installation of an in-ground fiberglass pool with associated landscaping, grading, and utilities within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. Again, to kind of run down our standard conditions for fill and work, and then as Seth pointed out earlier, kind of the standard set of pool conditions that we've gone over a few times tonight, and then the condition for lighting to be directed away from the resource area.
Thank you, Jeff. Any commission members, questions, comments, additions? Or if not, would somebody like to make a motion to issue the order of conditions as drafted?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim, for the second. By roll call vote, Mike Miserelli,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski, Mark Beal, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye. Yes.
Thank you, Linda. And Seth Engelborg, the chair, votes aye. So that is the end of our orders of conditions. That will take us to extension of order. The first one we have here is Nantucket Conservation Foundation, Pest House Pond, SC 48 3090, represented by Karen Beatty. Karen, please go ahead.
Yes, good evening, and thank you. I would like to recognize Naomi Valentine of SWCA, who is our consultant on this project.
That's great. Naomi, please go ahead.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Chair. We're requesting an additional 2-year extension on the order of conditions for the management of Pest House Pond. It was previously extended for 1 year. Conditions are slowly improving. Commission members who were present for the previous extension in the original permit may recall that this is a very small pond, so it's tricky, it's shallow, it gets warm. But the two major reasons the original NOI was submitted were for the management of terrestrial invasive plants within the bordering vegetated wetland around the pond, as well as to manage nutrient levels within the pond using alum and as needed algicide application due to harmful algae outbreaks that were happening within the pond. So luckily there's been less need for the algicide applications. But because it does still pop up, especially in drier years where there's high temperatures, I'd like to continue this order of conditions to be able to do that as needed management. The commission will also see a future permit potentially for some additional invasive control off property. And so having the opportunity to do small spot treatments of Phragmites right along that property edge would be helpful to continue as well. And I can take any questions.
Thank you, Naomi and Karen. Do any members of the commission have questions? Or if not, would somebody like to make a motion to issue the 2-year extension to the order of conditions?
So moved.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. By roll call vote, Mike Miserelli,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski, Mark Beal, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg votes
the
aye, so
contrary.
that carries unanimously. And that will move us on also to Nantucket Conservation Foundation at Hummock Pond, SC 48 34 43, represented by Karen and Naomi again. Whoever wants to take it, go, feel free.
Sounds good. Naomi Valentine from SWCA for the record. This project is a Phragmites management project, which has been successful for the past 3 years. The Phragmites populations have been going down. There's been some native regeneration in areas where that's been significant. But as you all know, Phragmites is a tricky invasive, and it is sometimes requires more than 3 years, which is the original scope of the permit. And so we're requesting an additional 3-year permit to continue doing monitoring annually, treatment as needed, and to continue pushing back and hopefully eradicating large stretches of the Phragmites.
Thank you. Do any members of the commission have questions or comments? Or if there's none, would somebody like to make a motion to issue the extension to the order?
Move to extend the order for 3 years.
Second.
2 years, I think, for this one.
I thought she
Oh,
said 3, but
I believe there was an error in the bottom portion of the form. This hasn't been extended previously.
Yeah, they're still eligible for the full 3 1-year extensions.
Okay. So the the form that was submitted asked for the extension until July 9th, 2026. Is that not the date that you wanted extended to?
That was unfortunately a typo. The
Okay.
original, sorry, I just had it up a moment ago. The original expiration date was July 23rd, so we're looking to extend to July 23rd, 2027. I apologize for that error.
Okay, thank you. Would somebody like to make the motion to issue the extension until July 23rd, 2027?
Move to extend till July 23rd, 2027.
Thank you, John. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. By roll call vote, Mike Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski, Mark Beal, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
and the chair, Seth Engelborg, votes aye. Thank you both. And that will move us on into our last extension request, which is for Family Ties Act LLC, 15 Alliance Lane, SC 483457, which is represented by Don Bracken, but I don't see him here. So staff, are you taking
It
this?
is me.
All right, thank
Don
you.
let us know. This was for the construction of 4 structures, a pool, a sport court, and then driveway and drainage structures and other landscaping. It's currently under construction and underway. They have requested their 3 one-year extensions to continue till September 1st, 2027 to finish up that project.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions, concerns with this? Or if not, is there a motion to issue the 3-year extension?
So moved.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike, for the second. By roll call vote, Mike Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski, Mark Beal, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
and the chair, Seth Engelborg, votes aye. And that will move us on in our agenda to other business. I don't believe we have any minutes to approve. I also don't believe we have any monitoring reports submitted today. Jeff, do we have any enforcement actions or potential enforcement actions?
No, we will bring any of those to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. So the next item on the agenda is appointment of representatives. Before we appoint the representatives, I can just give a quick overview about what this is. So in addition to serving on the Conservation Commission, the Conservation Commission has its members serve on other committees as representatives. Those groups are the Coastal Resiliency Advisory Committee, or CRAC, Community Preservation Committee, CPC, the Nantucket Planning and Economic Development Commission, NPNEDC, the Harbor Plan Update Committee, the Offshore Wind Work Group, and those are our current appointments, although we have had others in the past, so they may change. Contrary to the Conservation Commission term, which is 3 years, the term for your representative appointment to another committee is 1 year. So technically, everybody who was a representative, your term is up. That being said, it's historically been the CONCOM's practice to ask if people who have been serving want to continue. So we'll go through that. So for CRAC, our representative is Tim Brain. Tim Brain, would you like to continue serving?
Yes, I would.
Does somebody want to make a motion to nominate Tim Brain to serve as a representative to CRAC from CONCOM?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. By roll call vote, Mike Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski, Mark Beal, John Schaefer,
Aye.
and Linda Williams.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you, and Seth Engelborg, the chair, votes aye. The next is CPC. Mark, you've been our representative, is that correct?
Yes.
Would you like to continue serving?
Yes.
Okay, do we have a motion to nominate Mark Beal as the CONCOM representative to the CPC?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim, for the second. By roll call vote, Mike Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski, Mark Beal. Yeah. Thanks. John Schaefer.
Aye.
Linda Williams. Linda.
Aye. Aye.
And Seth Ingeborg, the chair, votes aye. Thank you, Mark, for representing us on CPC. The next is MP and EDC. I am your current representative, but I would like to step off as representative given my new commitments, as long as somebody is willing to take over. So is anybody here on the Conservation Commission interested in being the representative for the MP and EDC?
I would be interested in that if my fellow commissioners appointed me to do so.
Thank you, Mike. Is there anyone else who may be interested? Is there a motion to nominate Mike Mizzarelli as the representative to the MP and EDC from Concom?
Yeah, I move to nominate Mike.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, John, for the second. By roll call vote,
Aye.
we'll start with you. We'll start with John Schaefer today.
Aye.
Mark Beal. Joe Plandowski. Tim Brain.
Aye.
Mike Mizzarelli.
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
And Seth Ingeborg votes aye. And next up is the Harbor Plan Update Committee. Our current representative is Linda Williams. Linda, are you interested in continuing to serve?
Yes, I am. I'd like to stay on the harbor thing until we're done, along with you.
Thank you. So we need a motion to nominate Linda Williams as the Concom representative to the Harbor Plan.
So moved.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, John, for the second. By roll call vote, Mike Mizzarelli.
Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Joe Plandowski. Mark Beal. John Schaefer.
Aye.
Linda
I
Williams.
will in a second. I'm on Concom meeting. Aye.
And Seth Ingeborg, the chair, votes aye. And lastly, we have the Offshore Wind Work Group, which I know that group requested a Conservation Commission representative, but it doesn't seem like they really meet. Joe, you're our representative. Would you like to continue representing, or should we tell them we don't want to be involved anymore?
There has not been one meeting in a whole year. There's a lot of stuff going on with wind turbines, but no meeting. There's nothing happening, absolutely zero.
Jeff, are we able to just not have a representative, or do we need a representative?
No one has asked about it, so I think we can. I'm not on. No one's asked about it. I mean, we can certainly hold it vacant for right now, and if they ask about it, we can deal with it then.
All right, Offshore Wind Work Group will keep vacant, and if they need a representative, we'll appoint a representative at said time. Thank you, Joe. And so now we need reports from those committees. So CRAC, Tim Brain, do you have a report for us?
Nothing new.
Okay. CPC, Mark, do you have a report for us?
Nothing new.
NP and EDC, I'll give my last report. So there is still the ongoing efforts related to the NOAA's proposed right whale, or changes to the right whale Vessel Strike Reduction Act. That's been going through the consultation process. And Mike, I'm sure you're going to be learning all about it at NP and EDC. That's the thing that's most germane to wetland interests at this point. Harbor Plan, Linda, are you able to make a report, or do you want me to make a report on your behalf?
I would just do it on her behalf. Seth.
Okay,
She did
so
just
Linda
unmute, but I'll do
Williams
it.
is the chair of the Harbor Plan, but I also have been on that committee. We're making really good progress. We are in our final section for public access that needs to be reviewed related to the changes to the plan. And then there is a proposed, or it's not scheduled yet, but there's a proposed public meeting happening in August that when it does happen, we will send around to the commissioners if they're interested in attending. This will be to kind of gauge the second round of public interest based on the changes that have been made to the plan. And then once we get past that, we're actually going to get into the phase where the plan really gets drafted and ultimately gets sent to the select board for review and then adoption, and then the state for review and adoption. So we have some more work left. But it's getting to a place where it's closer to resolution than it had been before.
Just to add to that really quickly, we are also looking to schedule a public forum on the harbor plan. It looks like it's going to be right around August 19th, and it will probably be in this very room. But again, it'll be open to the public in a hybrid fashion to get some updates and put some of the goals and objectives and get some public feedback on the contents of the plan.
Thank you, Jeff. And once that is scheduled, please send it out to all the conservation commissioners in case anyone's interested. So, any commissioners' comments? Go ahead, Joe, and then Mike will take you after.
When will we see the attorney's recommendations relative to the beach problem? Some firm was hired.
Yes, they're actively working. I am hopeful that we will have that at least a week in advance prior to our next meeting for everyone to review.
Thank you, Jeff. Mike, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to say congratulations on your chairmanship. Congratulations to Linda for the vice chair. We didn't get to discuss sending a letter of thanks to Ian for his 12 years of service, and just also formal welcome to John on the commission.
If you would like the staff to send a letter of thanks to Ian, I'm sure they could do that, so let us know.
Yes, do we have to make a motion to do that, or?
I don't think we need a motion. It's a letter of thanks. Yeah.
Okay. Signed by the chairman, of course.
Yeah, I'll sign it.
We'll have it ready for when he comes in to sign the rest of the permits from tonight.
Thank you. And yes, John, welcome officially. Any other commissioners' comments? Okay, I have a few comments. So first of all, I would like to extend our healing thoughts to Attorney Stephen Cohen and hope he's able to attend our meetings and appear before us soon. And hopefully he is, recovering and getting better from that unfortunate situation. The second is, this is particularly germane to John, but also to everyone else. Here's my annual reminder to sign up for the MACC, or that's the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissioners Fundamental Certificate Training Program. And actually specifically for John, they have a new commissioner's orientation that is free to you for the first year of your service. It has unbelievable amounts of helpful tips. And if anyone is interested in doing those classes, most of them are offered virtually at this point. There are some that are happening in person. They do an annual conference as well. The town of Nantucket also will pay for you to attend those classes. So if you're interested in attending a class, talk to Jeff and the other staff, and they'll get you signed up. I've gone through the program. It is incredibly helpful, even for somebody who works in the environmental conservation field. You learn a lot. And this is a spoiler, but if you do a couple of those units, you might, later in the fall, you might see me as a teacher, because I'm going to be teaching two of the units. So you might get to co-teaching two of the units. So you might get to do it with me.
I've taken the program.
Thank you, Joe.
Yep. Yeah, we are actually, Seth kind of stole part of the administrative report. We're going to get ready to send around some of the info for that. But Lisa's happy to help get booked when you select dates and make sure you get signed up and get everyone registered. And obviously the town is more than happy to pay for any of those classes. So we'll send that stuff around in the next 24 hours or so, and then just get back in touch with Lisa or Will, and we'll get you all signed up for it, and you'll be off and rolling. I've completed it too, and it totally is worthwhile. And, you know, I completed it after doing private consulting and this job for the better part of a decade, and I still found worth it going through it at that point. So it's definitely worth the look. You don't have to do necessarily all of them, but there's some really good ones for intros to wetlands and the bylaw and all that fun stuff.
Yes, I think Jeff holds the honor of being the first person ever on Nantucket to complete the program, and I hold the honor of being the first commissioner. So we are looking for more commissioners to do that training. My last comment is that, around this time of the year is always a good time to refresh yourself on reading the Wetlands Protection Act and our local bylaws. Might not be the most exciting summer beach read. Ellen Hildebrand might be a little bit more interesting, but print it out, take it to the beach with you, and catch up on that, because no matter how many times we've looked at it, there's still things that you learn when you read it again. Anyone else?
Quick announcement, I guess. I had a prior commitment on the 25th, our next meeting. It's my wife's 60th birthday party. We're having people coming from all over. And so is it absolutely mandatory that I be at the meeting, or am I allowed to miss that one?
You are allowed to miss, and Jeff and the staff could talk to you more about this, but there is a rule called the Mullen Rule, which allows you to read in and watch the video of the past hearing that you missed and still participate in that hearing in the future.
Okay.
However, on an application, you're only allowed to miss one hearing. So if the application was open for multiple weeks or months and you missed another hearing after the 25th, you would then no longer be allowed to vote on that hearing. So
Okay, well.
endeavor to try to miss
No,
only
this-
one, but there is a form that you have to do to read in, and Jeff or Will or Lisa could help you with that once
Okay.
We'll get you all squared away, and
Thank
for
you.
those that are helpful, we actually track attendance just for that very purpose.
Okay.
So we know if something carries on, if someone misses a second time, then we'll let people know. Or we'll warn them in advance, but missing meetings for real life is totally normal and understandable.
Yeah,
as long
she'll
as it's not
kill
like,
me if I don't make this. So.
Yeah, that's an
Every-
important one.
Thank you.
Every single one of the people at this table has missed meetings, so don't feel bad about it. But yeah, just try not to miss multiple on the same hearing if you can. All right, Jeff, any other administrator or staff report?
No, welcome aboard, John. Good first meeting. Congratulations to Seth. And we'll see. You'll probably be back with Will next time. I'll be here for a little bit with what's on the agenda, but.
Sounds good. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
By roll call vote, Mike Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Tim Brand,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski, Mark Beal, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Linda Williams is not on anymore. And Seth Engelborg votes aye, so that carries with 6 people in the affirmative. Thank you all and have a good rest of your night.